How's the stash?
Glorious.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is StacheCast. Let's go.
So work that waiver wire, make those trades. Do what you got to do. Let's go. Don't be a quitter. Don't be a quitter.
Come on. Do you even want to win?
Jared's like, I'm going to drink a beer a hole, and then does.
Now you get to date your favorite color.
Played the School of the Blind 3
you
times.
You nobody.
All girls school. Way to go.
You're playing nobody.
So they got 11 guys that want to kick your ass too.
Nia Long, man. Nia freaking Long.
It has been uphill both ways through shit creek.
I'll be naked, passed out somewhere on the floor. Hopefully it's just my own room.
Their offense is great. Their defense makes me want to shit down both legs.
I'm not playing for the next 2 hours. Bring me some chicken.
He's not superstitious, but that sumbitch is a little stitious. I'll tell you that. There ain't no doubt about it.
StacheCast, baby.
This is StacheCast, presented by Nashville Stash, downtown Nashville, Tennessee. This is Super Bowl 57 recap. It's sponsored by our friends at FinTech Payment Processing. If you have a business that accepts credit cards, you need to reach out to these guys and unlock your payments potential with FinTech Payments. Thanks for joining, you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, supporting. We appreciate it very much. We have lots to talk about today, so I won't fart around. I'll get right into it. Joe Hudson is back with us after having to bow out from the prop bet special due to the brown jug virus, as my grandfather would say. Alex Alper, the professor, we'll see how brilliant he was a little bit later for sure. Director of team travel for the Cleveland Guardians. Just got started with spring training today. Got the full roster in, except a few stragglers. So catch up on JJ from Phoenix and our resident meathead soon.
That's right.
One of my favorite humans on earth, my future wife, Kristen Love. We call her K-Love with me, and I am always the host of this fuckery, Nick Mars. So like I said, let's get right into it. Super Bowl 57 was a great game, right? I'm not going to do a disservice to the players that played an amazing game to watch. Hurts was near perfect, right? Mahomes was tough as nails. So congrats to the Chiefs. Chiefs Kingdom on the win. Gifted, scripted, won, or stolen. They got the Lombardi. So there's nothing anybody can do about it. So congrats to them, right? Everybody showed up for the most part, except for a handful of plays. It was a fairly clean game up until the 2-minute mark. That's when, there got to be a couple of squirrely type situations. I know there's a lot of folks who have opinions on this. I listened to all of ours while it was happening live. But Tweeter, I'm asking you first because I think you're going to be on my side of the fence here of this argument. But what did you think of the whole that call cost us the game commentary?
Well, I mean, there's just too many plays to say that one play cost them the game. They blew some major plays. I mean, and right when they clawed back, I mean, you could say Kadarius Toney on that punt return, setting a record in the Super Bowl, could be the biggest play. But I mean, they had to pick one of the two holds that, on that play. There's pretty much two. Pretty much held them twice on that.
I think you can look at the call. I don't know the rules well enough to talk about the call, whether it was or wasn't a hold. I tell you this, it's one of those could go either ways. And I think depending on which side of the fence you're on, that's kind of how it feels to you. And you might be upset, or whether you're like, Kansas City's probably like, well, that's been called on us a bunch of times too, so you can't really whatever. In the moment, it looked like he was within that 5-yard range and the ball wasn't in the air. And I thought that wasn't holding, unless it was blatant, like hold him, like jerked him to the ground, like pull him to the ground, hug, you know what I mean? Like something, like blatant. I didn't think a jersey tug or in that type of, he does that whip route and he's going out real quick and kind of just, you get caught up in each other. Yeah, you tug a little bit. I mean, you just do. Football, basketball, you just do. So is it a foul? Yeah. Should it have been called? Probably not. 9 times out of 10, and if it's in the regular season, it's probably not called. In that moment, it got called. So it puts a big bruise on a game that otherwise was really, really, really well played. Other than one little butterfinger by Hurts, it's a fantastic game. Mahomes gets whatever liquid juice they gave him at halftime. Did you see his eyes after Kelsey had to come over and help him. He was like, I'll do the talking for you, big guy. You just like, we're going to go celebrate this one. He was like, bro, you've been celebrating for about 40 minutes already, bud. You're feeling fantastic. Do you see when he ran all the way down and he got up at the 10, he got up, he was like, fuck. Didn't expect that to happen, you know?
I had that horse
First time
tranquilizer.
Yeah. My name's Patrick. That was my first beer. But like I said, good game. Great game. You hit the nail on the head, which is what and Sirianni said it after the game. Good, so good on him for saying this, because I think this is the facts. There's a lot of pieces that make this game. There's a lot of plays that determine the outcome. It's not just one. It's not just the one at the end, the one in the first 2 minutes. When you give up a touchdown in your red zone on virtually the same play on a jet motion, because if you go back and watch the first one on Kadarius Toney, Slay points. He thinks he sees the motion. He's he's communicating to his guy. The motion's coming that way. He thinks he's seeing a play that they've watched on film a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop. You turn Laverne, he's in the end zone. There's nobody for 40 acres. He just kind of, he's in there. And then the next drive, 2 drives later, next drive.
No, you two. They did Pacheco and then Sky Moore.
Same play for Sky Moore.
Yep.
Same play for Sky Moore, because Bradbury, not Bradbury, whatever the guy for the Chiefs on the other side, he does the same thing. He points as well, and then whoop. I mean,
do you see that Chad Henne had said that they had noticed the Jaguars playing against the Eagles and exploiting that play, and that they had Jamal Agnew twice, I think, for touchdowns, same play, and they were like, oh, cool. They overplay that lineup. They overplay that, and so
they're like
they did
XX,
both times.
square,
and it worked
circle,
out.
Triangle, touchdown.
That's just crazy coaching, man.
Little cheap.
That's why.
Crazy
That's
coaching.
why Eric Bieniemy will be a head coach next year. He probably should.
He should be. He should be. He's great. But
Why
I'll tell
not?
you what.
Why not wait? What if Andy Reid is just like chilling? He's like, hey, I'm retiring in 2 years. You stick around here.
But
and you got Mahomes
Andy
for
said
next
a little
year.
bit of that.
retiring.
Yeah, I know, but you never know that. You never know. At the end of the day, one of the questions that came out of the last week's show was, for me at least, was where's it going to come from the Chiefs? Look, they for the most part they kept Kelsey from going absolutely bananas, right? He had a good game, better than average, but a below average game for him. But so they keep him bottled up, and I was like, okay, where's it going to come from?
Sticks for 81 for 1 touchdown.
Which is a fantastic stat line, but it's not, we're used to Kelsey going 14 for bananas. 240 and 3 tutteds, and a Gronk spike and a good speech at the end of the game, so that human stat line is, is unfortunately for Travis is
low,
pedestrian for him. Right. But I think the question was, where's it going to come from? And the answer is Andy Reid's big old football brain, as McAfee would say. That big old brain in there said, you know what? I'm going to take a little page out of Jag's playbook here. I'm going to do a little of this over here. I'm going to have a little of this over here. I'm going to, you can't script, you can set up a wedge on a punt return. You can't expect a bad punt. That was a bad punt. He didn't punt it where he wanted. He punted it the opposite direction of where he wanted, and it was kind of a duck. You heard what's his face Tony talking about it. He kind of startled him when he saw it. Was like, oh shit. He kind of takes off after it and gets it, and then he finally gains his balance, and it was like, oh, there's a big wall of red and nothing but people going, yeah, run, this way. It was. And he gets to the 5-yard line. I figured it was going to be one of those deals where eventually one of the linemen was going to catch up and just go, and ride him into the end zone and get the touchdown, but he didn't. End of the day, Chiefs win. Eagles go home. Very, very sad. Eagles fans were down all over town. It wasn't a good scene. It's how's your girl, man? Is she up and well, or is she still like in the dark room somewhere?
Nah, she's, I'm not going to say used to it, but she's like, this is how it feels to be an Eagles fan, because they worked their entire life to get there, and whatever it was, 2015 or whatever, and it didn't happen. They didn't win. So now they've seen both sides, but she even said on the episode she was on, she was like, I think the Eagles are going to win, but, beware of Andy Reid. The guy knows what the hell he's doing. So he did.
He's an amazing coach, and he showed it. And he's humble, and seems like a good guy to be around. I don't, you never can tell how those guys are, but he seems just the way that he talks. He gave credit to the appropriate people in the appropriate moments. He's talking about Bieniemy and how well he did it and how well he did. He deflects all the praise and gives it to the people who deserve it. And and so you root for a guy like that. You also see the way that Sirianni was before the game, emotion with the moment, and Stapleton singing an anthem that was. I listened to it 2 more times today because it
with your
that
stopwatch.
good. No, I had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with the first time. I was too busy worrying about how long it was going to take. The second time, I actually just kind of turned my everything off and just listened to it, and he nailed it. It was so good, so good. Absolutely crushed it. But after the game is what was impressive to me with Sirianni. The grace and the humility which he accepted that loss, whether you want him to be fiery about a call or not. The home fans, the Eagles fans want him to be fired up about it, right? He chose to be graceful about it and classy about it. And it leaps and bounds in my book based on that alone. I didn't know all that much about him. I looked more into him as we got deeper into the show and we started to talk about him more. I didn't realize that, where all he had been and all the different positions he had held, but I did start paying attention when he got going this year. And I was wondering how he'd handle it. I was wondering how he'd rise to the occasion, and he did. And then they lost, and it was controversial, whatever, if you want to call it that. And he handled it with grace. So Eagles, congratulations. Amazing season. It was fun to watch. I won a lot of money betting on you guys to kick everybody's ass all year. You don't look like you're going away anytime soon. So watch out, NFC. I think that, you got to deal with the Jalen contract, which I'm sure that's what about made you fly out of your chair, Alper. So I'll take you off the leash. Go ahead and fire away on that.
2 things. One, I think Nick Sirianni did a great job, but in the fourth quarter, down 27-28, 4th and 3 on his own 32, and he decided to punt the ball. Obviously, he didn't know that punt was going to be the longest punt return in Super Bowl history, even though it wasn't a touchdown. But I think, obviously, if you rewind, he goes for it on that play. I mean, he went for it numerous times in that NFC Championship game in his own side of the field against the 49ers, who have a ridiculous defense. And this is fourth quarter of the damn Super Bowl. It just sucks to me that
if he goes for that and doesn't get it, though, we're talking about how he's a dumbass right now.
Yeah, I don't think so, because he's done that all year. And their fourth down percentage is 5 yards.
What's the percentage? The likelihood? First of all, it's never happened in the Super Bowl. Am I wrong in the punt return for a touchdown? Has there ever been one?
Never happened.
Okay, so when you start to think about the 4th and 3, my own 32.
You better on your
if I punt this football, the likelihood of the worst fucking thing happening is not great. The likelihood,
the
percentages of me getting these 3 yards versus the percentages of this guy returning it 70 yards to the 5-yard line or 4-yard line they're so polar opposite. In that moment, you punt the ball. To your point, coaching a perfect game is different than the respect that I gained for him in the way that he handled the entire situation. His coaching style, his X's and O's, is all of those things I'll learn more about as he continues to be, we watch more games and he continues to do his thing. But as a coach, as a leader of men, he gained a lot of points in my book because of the way that he handled himself after the game and the way that he handled those teams. Jalen Hurts did the same thing. Mm-hmm. All of those Eagles did the same thing. They were grace. They handled it with grace. They left with their heads held high. They had nothing to be ashamed of. And that is so good to see in an age where NFL and pro athletes get a bad rap for this and that, and they show that they don't care, for the guys to go out there and give everything they had for 60 minutes and on the biggest stage, and then Leave with Grace was
I agree. I mean,
very, very, very cool to see.
I've not been a huge fan of him just because I don't like his cockiness and that behavior. I don't like that at all.
So Philadelphia.
It totally is. But just the way that he handled it with such class and grace, and like I had a newfound respect for him after that. And I mean, even the player too, like in the locker room, he was like, "Yeah, I did it." He was like, "I didn't think it was really going to get called."
He's like, "I was hoping to let it."
I was hoping to, he wouldn't call it, but he did, and you could tell he was just, I mean, very genuine. I mean, they all were very, very classy. So
there was not a single holding call that entire game until that one. And it just sucks that, so John Jenkins was the official, the back judge. Okay. And it's his job to watch the wide receivers on that side. Like that's his job. And there's 20 other whatever officials on the field for the Super Bowl, however many they have damn in this game. And there's 65 different camera angles and whatnot. But literally he's the only one looking at those wide receivers. Now, as soon as the ball goes in the air, all the other officials are looking to see what's happening in that area. But he was the only person. He had to make a judgment call. And oh man, I thought it was ticky-tack. Yeah. But I mean, Usain Bolt wasn't going to catch that ball.
Yeah.
Ticky-tack, yes, 100% ticky-tack. Also, it made me, like I said, in the moment, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought there was a rule with the 5 yards and the ball in the and maybe that's not a rule. Maybe that's something that I thought it was in backyard football at some point or whatever. But the rules changed so much, I can't keep up.
Yeah.
But at any rate, the penalty was called, and it was ticky-tack. There's a bunch of things that weren't called that could have been called.
Sure.
Both ways.
You can call holding. You can call holding on
throughout the whole
every
game.
play. Of course.
If you take out the two most unlikely things to happen in the world, if Hurts doesn't that football when he tries to scramble and butterfinger it for a scoop and score, and if Kadarius Toney catches that ball at the 30-yard line, fair catch, and Mahomes comes on the field at the 30, we've got a different ball game. But as we say all the time, it's not the way that it goes. That's why we play the game, whatever you want to say. And there was drama. There was back and forth. I don't know why Travis Kelce's so delusional to think that people have been doubting that they lost one guy and they thought that we were like, we're like, who's going to replace Tyreek Hill? That's a valid fucking question, Trav. Like you have a lightning bolt out there that's what you guys were. And that now the lightning bolt's gone. Who's going to replace that? We knew you weren't going anywhere. We knew Mahomes wasn't going anywhere. Andy Reid's big old brain wasn't going anywhere, but lightning bolt was gone. The cheetah was gone. Who's going to replace it? Well, they figured out a fucking way. Andy, big old brain, apparently brain power is better than fast power because they got her done, son. But nobody was I don't know one person that was like, the Chiefs are going to be dog shit now. Tyreek's gone. They're going to be trash.
76% of the money that was bet on the Super Bowl went on the Eagles. So I think
that's
from
different
that,
than doubting them to win, to be worth a shit from week one. His point was that y'all have been doubting us since dude left, basically. And we're like, that's what you've been. That's the narrative in your locker room, because that's been the fire that you guys have been going on. As soon as you go back and you calm down a little bit and you take a deep breath, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, well, maybe I was a little jacked on the Mountain Dew there, but
and that's all the analysts. They all had backed the Chiefs the whole time.
Yeah, a lot of people picked the Chiefs. I listened to the analysts before the game, and I'm like, there's a bunch of good reasons for both, right? Yeah. This is just like we talked about last time. There's a lot of good reasons that on paper both of these teams should have won. But
did you see the stats before the game where it showed that they had scored the exact amount of points this season, like 546 points or something like that? They both scored the exact amount. They were both 13-3, or I'm sorry, 16-3, I think, at that point. And that's then crazy. Each had 6 All-Pros and 1 Kelsey. That's what they said. The similarities.
Yeah, they were evenly matched. One of my dad's colleagues made a bet with a couple other guys. They bet on the exact score of the game, 38-35, and they got it right. Now it was like a plus 40,000
Yeah, it was big.
They made it was a $15 bet for like, and they won like $7,000. Yeah.
Oh
Just a
Winners
Wow.
on him.
and then I'm like, you guys went all in. I'm like, 3 guys went in for 50. I'm like, wait a minute. Why didn't you all just
I
give
got
them
12
a clean
quarters.
20 and make it a $60 bet? Now you guys have got 15 grand or 20 grand to split. Now
That's
you're
funny.
whatever. People,
The future is bright for the Eagles. The future is bright for the Eagles. They've got a good core. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, they'll lock up. He's not going. He's made $4.5 million this year, and that's not going to happen next year. Although next year is his last rookie year, so I don't think he'll sit out. But I'm sure they'll sign him beforehand. Devontae, Brown, and Goddard. Devontae and Brown are both like 23, 24. I think Goddard's 27. That's a good offensive core to have. But the Eagles do have 13 players who played significant time during that Super Bowl that are free agents this year. And their defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, likely going to be a head coach somewhere, an offensive coordinator.
Right?
Yeah, offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen. I think he's going to the Colts.
That's the one. Yeah.
And then the defensive coordinator is actually staying in Arizona to interview for the Cardinals job. So what's going to happen, they've already talked about it, is likely it's going to be the quarterback's coach that'll fly into the offensive coordinator, and the secondary, the defensive back coach, which will go to be the defensive coordinator. But they're not going to be the same team next year. No team is going into your next season.
Washington,
and we'll see how it all turns out, because they have a lot of rookies. I think one of the only players playing on that team that wasn't drafted by the Eagles was Brown.
AJ Brown.
And that's AJ Brown from the trade. Everybody else was like homegrown talent. So
then you've got a similar situation that you got in Chiefs with Sirianni being an offensive minded guy. So even if that's your quarterback, the culture's there. The program is there. I think that you kind of like with Bieniemy and Reed, right? You've got mentor, young grasshopper there. But you got to look at the other side of the field. The Chiefs are coming back. They didn't look too shabby in that win, and they're coming back. I can't imagine they've got two. And I haven't dug into it, but I don't know what their cap hits are, or what kind of guys are going to be looking at, being released or whatever, or what guys are going to have
Juju's
to get moved.
Gone.
But I don't know. But I mean, that's a replaceable guy. I mean. He's a good player. I like him. He's not he's a replaceable guy. I mean, Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore looked good. You got Kadarius Toney. You've got Kelsey. You've got Pacheco looked great. And you got him on a rookie contract for a little while longer. The Chiefs look solid, man. Eagles might. The question I was going to ask you, Alex, about the Eagles when it came to contracts and this and that. Do you think Jason Kelsey retires?
I hope not. He's 35, I think. He's going to take some time to think about it. I don't think he's going to go to a dark room for 4 days and get fed with a tray, but he's going to take some time. He'll obviously think about it with his family. I'm sure he'll talk about it on his podcast, sponsor us. But we'll see. One of the things that he talked about post-game was, of every Eagles team that he's played on, and he's been there his whole career, I believe, is that this team was like the tightest. They had the culture. There literally wasn't anyone on the team that was like, throw me the damn ball, I need more touches, like the Tyreek Hill type of situation. And he's like, he's never been on a team where they just wanted to win, and no one cared how they win. They had 9 running backs and whatnot, everybody scoring whatnot, but like it didn't matter. And that's not something you find today in today's NFL or today's game. So I think there's a possibility. I think he's honestly going to look and see what happens in mid-March to see what free agency looks like, who they get, who leaves. And I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back for one more. I mean, quarterback, a franchise quarterback.
Love to see him back.
Yeah.
JJ, what you got, Bob?
Professor, I got a question for you.
Professor.
Nick, I totally agree. I'll start with saying I totally agree on Sirianni is amped up as he is on the sideline. I was curious to see how he'd handle it. And that whole locker room is full of winners. I'm excited it's an easy team to get behind. I think the play at the end of the game, you can call it a hold. It was a hold clearly. For that good of a game we have recency bias, for that good of a game to come down and be ended by a call like that stinks. But anyhow, Alper, my question for you, the professor, is so 2 weeks ago when the line first came out, it was -1.5 for the Eagles. And I was like, holy shit. I said on the show, I'm hopping all over that. As soon as the days went on, I was in the locker room on Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, and one of our pitchers, Shane Bieber, was like, hey, JJ, who you got? And I said, oh, I took the Eagles at 1.5 when it just came out. That's a no-brainer. And we talk about moving the line on the show all the time. He said, don't you think something's up that 78% of the bets have been on the Eagles and the line hasn't moved a touch? Alper, so does Vegas know something I don't know? Is that call? Like, what's learning
So
some
Vegas-
knowledge here? Because I went 1.5 and thought I fucking had a layup. And clearly
There was a lot of money to
one.
be lost if the Eagles won that game. There's a lot of money to be lost out of that $16 billion that was bet. 78% of $16 billion was about to get paid out.
Yeah, and
that's why that dude was like holding.
Yeah, the worst thing literally could have been
somebody had his wife. They're like, it's holding on the Eagles, right?
And we've talked a bit about on this show about this whole thing being scripted. And honestly, if you remember last year, the same thing happened to the Rams. There was a holding call giving Rams the first down to allow them to throw the winning touchdown. So like it's literally happened in back-to-back Super Bowls.
Do you remember the no call against the Saints and the defensive the pass interference?
Yeah.
The dude, it wasn't even interference. It was a full-on like
tackle.
He decleated this dude on the sideline, and they were like,
and that's why they were like,
pass interference
is going to be.
What is this? The longest yard? What the fuck?
Pass interference is going to be that year after that Saints game. They were like, all right, we're going to fix this. Pass interference can go up to the replay booth. And it was such a shit show. They're like, all right, we're never doing that again. So, JJ, back to you. Vegas would have lost their ass if the Eagles would have won.
I'm starting to think you just look where everybody put their money and
that is almost always you go against the public. And that's what the smart bettors do. I know a ton of people, as soon as there was a defensive touchdown by the Eagles, that immediately just started hammering the Eagles and taking a live bet on for them to win, even though they were down, because of the 20 touchdowns that have been scored in the Super Bowl, 19 of them have been by the winning team. So it's like, oh my God, those kind of odds, put it down. But they literally wanted more people to bet on the Eagles, hoping, I mean, they didn't really, you can't hedge your bet, obviously, if you're Vegas, but the more people that go on that, the better it is for them. Right.
Yep.
Well, I think Vegas usually wants it to be an even split, and they just earn the juice. They don't want it to be too one-sided. But that's a good transition into a little bit of a highlight of our sports. What are we doing? Our Super Bowl prop betting special that we did Saturday morning. That was a blast to do. We had one of our guest co-hosts, Scott Ward, on. He had some good bets. We broke it down. I had them all written down during the game. My dad was on board. We were blasting the group chat. It was a good time. So I'm gonna pass it over to. We'll talk about the biggest bet that you won, JJ. Did you win you took the over on the jersey number bet, right? Or did you take the under on that?
I took the over, and after we talked about it, I went and read the fine print. If a guy scores more than once, you only get his number once.
Okay.
I did not hit the over. The over was way under. I think we're like 40 points short. So bad bet on my part. Also, field goals didn't count, which I just assumed they did. So
okay.
Not going to double down with that one. My biggest winner was I think the professor gave me Gainwell and Devontae Smith. Those guys both hit within like the first quarter or by halftime. And I was like, at least I'm broke even at worst case scenario. I really would have been good if the Eagles won, but that's a shitty point by now.
Right. Yeah. Anything involving an Eagles win was, except for the halftime. The halftime lead was looking good on that parlay, but anything involving them at the end. My big winner was the over. I just went real big on the over. We did a couple parlays, including that included the Eagles to win the game outright, which didn't win. But my big single bet was over 51.5 is what it ended up being, and obviously that got crushed. Tweet, did you bet on the game?
The only thing that I bet actually was I noticed a glitch on, I think I texted you guys. There was a glitch on the site that I was on. It was I'm not even going to say because I don't want to bring any attention to it, but it said plus 450 for Devontae Smith to get 4 or more catches. And I was like,
that was
like,
it?
this. I was like, that can't be right. And I looked at all the
Did
ones
you
underneath.
mortgage your house and put it on there?
It
'Cause
was
that's incredible.
six. It was
I also did not
627.
get that. You did not text me. That should have been a damn phone call to the professor. Like, hey,
Man.
dude.
627 is when I noticed it. And I was sitting there. I was like, God, how fast can I sell my house? Let me see what I can put it up. And I actually would never tell my wife about a bet. I don't really sports bet, but I wouldn't tell her about a sports bet unless I wanted. It'd be like a nice secret. But I told her, sure. I was like,
It was a
babe,
good one.
no joke. You're not going to understand the math here, but this dude's going to he's going to bet to make us some money.
I got to do this. You got to just don't worry
4
about
catches in the
the
first.
math. You're going to be
He
over
had
there
3 on the
like,
first drive. Yeah.
just don't worry
he
about the
went
math.
7 for 100.
All
right.
And then ended the game in a walking boot.
Yeah.
Hey, you'll have that on the big jobs. So,
All right, I got some stats for you here and I'll go through some of these bets that we did. First of all, this was the third most watched Super Bowl of all time, and they haven't officially released the numbers, but ESPN sponsor us reported that this will be the third most watched Super Bowl with 113 million people that watched. There were only 2 Super Bowls that had more viewers. Can
That's
you tell
how
me
you
what
get
those
third.
are?
That's how you get third place.
That is how you. So tell me the other 2 Super Bowls that had more people watching.
Good math there, tweeter.
One with Tom Brady.
Both of them, believe it or not, included Tom Brady, of course.
Wow.
What Super Bowl doesn't these days?
Versus the Giants, Tom Brady.
the one,
Eli
I would
Manning?
say was it the one where he
versus
was
the Giants?
What about the one where he with the Bucks when he the most recent one that he won?
Nope.
Okay.
Both of them were Patriots.
Was it the comeback against the Falcons? Was it that game?
That game was the second most watched. That had 113.6 million viewers.
Wow.
I'll give you
Wasn't
guys
Tom
a
Brady,
hint.
Eli Manning times the second game.
This is your hint.
Was it against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl?
Oh, nice. Yes. Seahawks.
I kept looking at his face. I totally missed it.
And I'm like, I got context.
What?
What's the hint?
Y'all,
What's the hint? Yes, the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl in 2015, 114 million people watched that one. That was the most viewed. It also included the most viewed Super Bowl halftime show featuring what artist in 2015?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No, female.
Beyonce.
Fergie.
I'll give you another hint.
Rihanna.
Baby Shark. Do.
Oh,
Baby.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry with the left shark was the
Who sings
most
that
viewed. No, she
Shark,
didn't write
yeah.
it, but
That
That-
one
Shark,
was
yeah, I
huge.
remember that.
yeah, that Super Bowl halftime show got lots of memes because of the left shark getting really into it.
where
yes.
did this halftime show fall in the
This was the
rankings?
second highest ranking halftime show in history. It had 113 million people watched the game, but 118.7 million people tuned in for the halftime show.
So more people
That's
watch halftime.
insane.
That happens almost every
More
year.
people like
Yeah.
Rihanna
really?
than they like football in the
Professor,
world.
how do they
Sponsor-
figure that out? Are they like dialing into my direct TV sponsor us to be like JJ's locked in on Super Bowl and halftime?
To some degree, so we can get into that. It's actually a pretty long discussion, but like there's the Nielsen ratings is what most TV is done, but now more people are streaming and whatnot, so there's different ratings based on streaming. There's actually a whole lot of industry hubbub on how to actually track all of this stuff, but what they are figuring is that
Circle back on that another time.
Joe's serious.
Yeah.
Joe looks serious as shit.
yeah,
I'm zoned in.
So is
They're
Yeah.
both.
So is
JJ's lost his last year's Easter egg. Joe is locked in. This is great.
He's like, how do they get inside?
I'm sorry,
my
Alex.
brain?
I really
It's all good.
appreciate this information, but I can't stop laughing at these two idiots. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. All
We
right,
just started to get good.
please continue. I'm curious because there was a lot of haters on the Rihanna show. I thought she did great. My dad was curious about a couple of questionable moves. She kind of did a little hip thing. She kind of hit the hoo-ha there.
Yeah.
She hit the hoo-ha,
Calls it his
and she
number.
hit a little
Oh,
And yeah, and my dad was like, "Oh," he goes,
She's
"Is that
also-
what she did?" And I was like, yeah. And he was like, he goes, "Well, she must like it because she smiled after she smelled it." And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, that's probably means she liked it."
We were
Oh
standing
my
right
God.
there, right before we were leaving, and he's like, "All right, we're all family pretty much now. You know, we're close." And he's like, "So can I ask something crude?" And his mom comes in, and she's like, "Piers, what are you about to ask?" And so he proceeds to tell him it. We had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was going to ask me. It was
I can
it
hear
was
it.
touch and go
Did-
for a minute.
Did she
It did
smell
come
it?
out
Fingers?
afterwards
But
that
let's-
she is pregnant.
Yeah, that's
so
what I was
she
going to
did
say.
that while
She's
pregnant.
up on these. She's up on these
She's like,
things.
there.
At one point, like I noticed because I work in construction, so as soon as I saw the things, I'm like, "Oh, like are they strapped in? Are they got a harness
Just
on?" Like,
her.
and no, they all had.
Oh, they all did.
They
Thank
all
God.
had all the ones that were up there on the things had. No, why am I doing this in the air? All the guys that were up there had harnesses on, and I noticed after I realized that she was strapped in that her like bodysuit looked like it was made into like some sort of full body harness because she couldn't really move out of that in that thing. She was pretty stationary. Once one of the dancers in there, one of the like the snowmen came by and unhooked her, she could walk back and forth from thing to thing. But when they zoomed into her at the end, and you could see that thing just kind of like this
shaking,
and she's up there kind of like taking it in and trying to sing. I was like, dude, my butthole would be puckered up. There's no chance I'd be able to remember the words. I'd just be like, y'all need to get me down. And then she gets down and I'm like, and she's preggo.
Yep.
Do you know how many songs?
How much did you got to pay her to get her up there with that? What kind of insurance
Nothing.
you got to
They
take
don't
out
get
to get
paid.
her up there?
Yeah,
Don't get
most
paid.
of them do not get paid. They just want the publicity of performing on the Super
Okay,
Bowl.
well, what's the insurance cost on that? Because everybody gets everything insured these days.
I mean, Apple's got plenty of money. I feel like they would have been fine for that deal. But Caleb, do you know how many songs she sang, or bits and pieces of songs? The over under was 9. The over under was 9.
She did more than that, right?
12 songs.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So she did,
Right?
yeah, about 1 minute. I made the claim. I was like, she's either going to start or end with diamonds.
Yeah,
And
she
she
ended
did.
with it.
I was like, that was my guess. And
My boy Brett
right.
got the first song right, so he was like, "Bitch, better give me
Damn,
my
could've
money."
bet
And I
on
was like,
that
that's
too.
right.
Yeah.
So-
Well,
It's amazing.
getting
you can
back to
bet
the
on that.
prop bets. I know we were screwed when I was watching the pregame show, and all of a sudden, all those idiots on Fox sponsor us said, "I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles." And you saw it all the way across, and I was like, "Oh man, I need to be putting money on the Chiefs right now, just because every time that happens, they're usually wrong."
He says
but you
that
know,
too.
I was sitting next to Johnny, so I couldn't do it. But yeah.
You heard
Don't
it
you
here
dare pull
first.
that phone out.
Hey, did you get
Yeah, I
did you get
did.
your purple Gatorade bet in?
Purple Gatorade bet, but before
'Cause
the
you
game
were
started,
you were
'cause that
back
was
and forth between none
I
and
bet-
purple.
You bet none, didn't
I
you?
bet both. I bet both. Because
Is
there
there
was
an
such
L in
value.
both?
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
just checking.
Uh,
Kind of like Wooder
I bet on
or
both.
Warsh.
Both. I
There's a
bet
lot
on
of fun
both.
ones out there.
Because the odds were just so good on each one of them.
Right, I guess the return would have been fair to put it on both.
Yeah.
What,
So
it was
between
plus
that-
800 for purple, right? Plus 800.
850 for purple,
Damn.
and then nothing was nothing was 1100. So
That's good
11 to
return.
1
Yeah, that's
odds
worth
on that one.
that's worth throwing a few shekels on for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So what was your
Um,
biggest overall takeaway on the prop bets? Did you come away? You came away. Most of the ones I decided to pick were winners. It was most of the game picks that turned out to lose.
Well, we'll start
The
with
only
the Super
thing was-
Bowl and Chris
Okay, go.
Stapleton, because as soon as I put money on it, then I talked to Johnny, and she's like, "Do you know who he is?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Well, he's a little long-winded, and he likes to, you know." And I was like, "Oh hell!"
That's
As
good.
soon as I saw him with a guitar out there, there were many expletives, and there was lots of kids at this party we were hanging out with. So I was like, yeah, I was a little nervous. 30 seconds in, I was like, "There's no way." I had already like thrown my hat, and I was like, "Go!" And then all of a sudden, he started speeding up. Went, grabbed my hat, looked at my phone. And I was like, oh, come on, keep going. And he ended out with like 2 minutes, and then 2.79 seconds. And I had it at 2:05. At game time, it was about 2:04. So I cleaned up on that one, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great Super Bowl. And
He did
then,
very short and clean. Like he did not do what he normally would do.
Well, I think that somebody he's good enough at this that somebody when he got to after he did the first like got going a little bit, somebody in his ear was probably like, you got maybe pick it up a half step, kid, because they got a flyover coming.
That was me in Torrance yelling at him in Arizona to hurry the
because he wrapped it. He could have done his home of the brave. He did his little and he put a little bow on it. He could have let it rip because it didn't take much. To Johnny's point, he could have done his to the moon, but he didn't. They flew over and he
once again, the over has only happened 4 times in the last 16 years. So we're keeping that streak alive. The other thing that I was
coin toss streak
about,
dead.
The coin toss streak is now dead as well. And man, the Chiefs won, and the last 8 Super Bowls, whoever wins the coin toss loses the game. So that streak is now over. But man, I won the national anthem. I won the coin toss. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then they started throwing the ball to Dallas Goedert a lot, like we knew they would. Which he had 6 for 60. His longest was 17. I hit on both of those.
Dude, every Eagle hit their number. Gainwell,
every Eagle,
Hurts,
Devontae,
Brown, Devontae, Goddard.
Yep.
Except for Riddick didn't get a sack. No sack. Did anybody take 0 sacks in the game?
I took 3, so yeah, I definitely fucked that one.
That would have been a good one to take. No sacks, but I couldn't believe that.
That's why they lost the game.
That's had to be
get
good.
Their hands on Mahomes, which probably had to do with that field, because that field sucked, you guys.
Yeah.
And I know it sucks for both teams. And I know that JJ, you know this in Arizona, they grow that grass outside and then it's on like a conveyor belt and they put it back inside. But they messed around and they spent $700,000 on this new type of grass.
They painted the whole field.
It was horrible. And it was horrible for both teams. So I'm not saying that's a reason that they lost. But damn, this is your biggest spectacle. This is supposed to be the perfect field.
Well,
and
so
it was.
The issue out here in Arizona is Bermuda grass goes dormant this time of year and rye comes through. That's the green you see. And rye holds on to water. So as you break it, it releases water. So if you're cutting, as you cut, it's going to be slicker. Just giving you a heads up.
Damn, science by JJ.
Not that I live in Arizona and look at grass, but I do a lot.
But you deal with that. You deal with that at your practice field. So you know the horticulture behind the grass in Arizona.
Yeah, because
if they would have started at noon in the dead sun, they'd have been okay. Especially as that temperature drops, as soon as that sun goes down, you're gonna cut and it's gonna be slick.
It's slicker now, shit.
That's most baseball teams using that Bermuda rye mix.
Bermuda 419.
That's why they're
rye. It's kind of on the equipment manager too, though. You should have started out with the long spikes, knowing it's a Bermuda rye mix.
Yeah.
I know they tried another hybrid that was new. They introduced that to try to lessen that impact. Obviously, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey, first-time touchdown scorer for the Chiefs. Championship, way to go! Caught a
Jason Kelsey.
Touchdown.
I don't believe.
I'm sorry, Travis.
I don't
Kelsey.
believe. I don't believe Fat Batman was getting in the end zone.
I get my Kelseys mixed up. I'm sorry. 18-yard touchdown in the first quarter.
But wouldn't you love to see that Selly though?
Anytime touchdown for the defense. I just happened to choose the wrong defense, but there was a defensive touchdown, which is good. Mm-hmm. Mahomes did not throw an interception for the first time in any of his Super Bowl appearances.
We talked about
it
that.
Right there. That was, I almost hit that parlay. I took a parlay that was, there will be a defensive touchdown, a missed field goal, and a there was something else.
Interception.
Yeah, an interception. That parlay, and I obviously an interception happened in it, and that was a bummer.
My prop bet parlay on 3 random prop bets that were, minus 100 ever. None of that shit worked out for me. There were I said 10 accepted penalties. There were 9. There were 6 in the first half. There were 4 in the first quarter, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fine." Like
they're just trying to help you out there at the end, Alex.
I believe, according to your logic, really there was only 8, but they called 9.
No. These were accepted penalties because that was an accepted penalties, but they called more than that. Those were accepted penalties. The first time out in the game wasn't until a minute and 33 seconds to go in the first half, and that happened to be by the Eagles, which that screwed me over too. The longest punt was actually not by Tommy Townsend of the Chiefs, so I went 0 for on that one, which was fine. Gainwell anytime touchdown, dude.
Boom. He had it.
He had it. Got to the 1 inch line, and they took it away. Man, I was running around like woo, and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna look at this again because there's 394 cameras at this game." You bastards. Yeah. There was an octopus in this game, though. The same player that scores a touchdown also scores the 2-point conversion, and that was done by Jalen Hurts. We didn't talk about that. Johnny, however, put money on that one. That was 14-1 that there would be an octopus.
That's cool.
Nice.
Hurts over 5.5 consecutive completions. He did that.
Wait, stop. Why the fuck is it called an octopus?
At least you said
I don't know. Two tentacles, maybe multiple tentacles to get in. Multiple ways to get in.
I think octopus has
8, 4, lots.
8.
I feel like they should just call it badass.
Agreed.
Badass isn't good for
Anyways,
that's
continue.
You're right.
Yeah,
Very strange name.
We'll put our research team on that.
I don't know why it is called an octopus, but it is. And then to end the game, even though they didn't show it on TV, and I've seen lots of reactions on social media being like, "Oh my God, he got dumped. What was the color? What was the color?" I had to search for it like all those idiots. And yes, it was purple. And I told you at the end of that show on Saturday, JJ, that you should put your money on purple because that was the highest odds.
The professor made me some money is you talked about how both teams are really good in the second quarter, and I hammered hard the first half over, and that kept me afloat big time.
Nice.
Thank you for that.
Nice.
I was like, hey, he said the Eagles are number 1 in second quarter scoring, and I think the Chiefs were number 2, and I was like, I like those odds, and that's probably my second biggest bet of the day. So thank you, Professor.
Nice.
Good stuff.
For sure. Obviously, we didn't
my
win them all like we
Benjamins
like to, but we definitely did better than most. So
We didn't win them all, but we're all still dear friends. But we did win more than we lost, and we had a great time doing it and made the game a lot more exciting. I know that people like my dad and some other folks are getting a lot more into it just simply because they hear us talking about it and they've gotten into it. So one of the things I'll say about betting before we take a quick break is that when you're betting, please do yourself a favor, set limits, stick to them, bet responsibly. If you need help, reach out for it. If you got a buddy who you think needs help, reach out for some help, bet responsibly and do it the right way. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with one of our most popular segments, Shower Thoughts with JJ.
Shower Thoughts with JJ.
So when do you decide it's time to replace your underwear? Kids today have no idea what the grind that dial-up internet is. They're there to cradle my taters, so until they're not cradling my taters, I'm rocking with them. They're holding my tater set. That's when it's time for underwear replacement. Showed a little side boob, put a computer in the family room and watch that kid grow through adversity.
Vagina stories.
Hey, why's it put her out? And I scooted. She woke up to me with my hand in a bag of Cheetos. I was stumbling and bumbling. 2 tall boys, you get a shot.
You got to stop pooping your pants.
And I trusted a fart and lost.
Here we go, guys. Shower Thoughts with JJ this week. So I was thinking in the shower, I'll be honest, I don't know about y'all, but I fucking love hibachi food. I mean, the food, the show. We're talking about my favorite is that firefighter that comes out and pees to put out the onion ring volcano. The whole thing is absolutely wicked. So it got me really thinking, what do you think you all think about starting an American version of hibachi in Japan? Here's where I'm at. AstroTurf, couple lawn chairs, a grill, and then the chef wear one of them aprons, you know what I'm talking about, where it looks like a chick in a bikini or like a dude with a six-pack. and for beer or from drink choices, you have 2 options. It's either PBR or Bud Heavy, because that's America as fuck. So my thought for y'all, or my questions for y'all would be, 1, what do you think? Would it be a hit? And then 2, what would you name it? I've kind of settled upon American Pie, but I think, all for you, I know you're the guru. There probably can be some better version of that. But Anyhow, if anybody listens to the show and makes this a reality, I want to 1, come visit it, and 2, get 1%.
Could you first of all, the visual that you just gave me is I see JJ in this apron down to his knees, jean shorts, Crocs on,
barbecue shoes,
Crocs or barbecue shoes on, the all whites,
barbecue, New Balance.
He's out there.
Amen. It's
like a Birkenstock slipper.
He's out there flipping weenies onto people's plates. He's got customers coming up with their plates, and he's flipping around. He's got his little fries next to it. That's
love it.
I think they would love it. As far as
hell yeah.
I don't know I don't know the translation for hibachi. So it's like open grill or something like that.
It's like cooking, cooking on a table type of thing.
So we could just call it grilling and chilling, man.
There it is.
I tossed this idea by my wife, and she straight up told me, she said, "You're the guy that wears the back-to-back World War champ shirt every July 4th." So she said, "I'm not sure this is your cut out for this," which is probably a fair point, but
I don't think that we're gonna. I don't know how well you do with it. I think they would adore you. I think they would love you. You big, fat, greasy American piece of meat. You are exactly you're exactly what the prototypical chef cook looks like at this restaurant. You burn easy, so you got to be under the umbrella. You'll have you'll be walking around. You'll have a utility belt, not necessarily a fanny pack, but you'll have all your grilling utensils at the ready and a holster, be whipping out tongs. It'll be a whole thing. I don't know what you're going to replace I got it. You'll go mafia style, Bill's Mafia style on these people with the ketchup and the mustard squirt bottles. You'll flip the weenie, they'll catch you in the bun, and you'll just hose them down with ketchup and mustard.
I love it.
They sit down, they've got one of the beer helmets.
Get a slingshot of relish.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be one of your tricks.
And then you could combine that idea with the Dick's Last Resort idea, and you could have a bunch of Americans being just absolute assholes to them.
No, I think you go opposite. I still think you're super duper nice, but you've got like some Adirondack chairs out there.
Yeah, it's got to be nice. It's got to look like a SEC tailgate. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
That's what I was thinking about calling it tailgating.
What do you call it? The
American tailgate.
You'll have cornhole and karaoke. It'll be a blast. You can have a driving range in the back. We will have it popping.
They would love it. They eat it up.
Dude, I want to go to this. This sounds incredible. What are you serving at this festive?
It starts with burgers, brats, and fries. I didn't really get not American pie. Apple pie is definitely the dessert. I hadn't got too much beyond that. I was really jazzed up about the AstroTurf on the ground. Thinking not only can I serve
rightfully
food,
so, my man.
Like the one
the
detail
grill at happy hour and play a little flag football or some stuff. I mean, there's a lot of activities you could do on top.
Just some classic Americana tunes.
If you just went over there in the same bar, set up an intramural league with a bunch of American sports, pickleball and football and basketball, and just you did a bunch of stuff like that, that would be a really good time. It'd be like the bars in Wisconsin that have the volleyball, that gymnasium, and then there's like the bar is in the same. It's just a different side of the building. You go straight from volleyball practice right into the bar. Yeah. Then they're shooting pool and busting bottles over each other's heads. Kind of fun.
I mean, this is a good shower thought. I will invest in this.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to tweak the details. Maybe we can get it on Shark Tank. We'll see. Maybe I think Cuban will be in on it.
He's an Indiana guy. Mark Cuban, please
sponsor us.
Brother.
I think the apron is a must, dude. The apron is a must.
I can't wait till Shower Thoughts sponsored.
I would go with the female bikini apron, no question.
Yep.
Yeah, you would look good with it. You want to talk about confused
America flag
customers? They'd be coming in because they'd be, I don't get it. Look, he makes a good burger, so we're going. He's just, right?
Just like rubbing little Vienna sausage or like the little hot dogs in a bun. What do you call them? The little
pigs in a blanket.
Yeah, pigs in a blanket. Just yelling,
Kobe. Throw little jalapeno poppers on their ass. They don't know it.
Yeah.
It'll be over.
Yeah, tongue roulette.
That'll be DEFCON 5 at their toilet. You know that they still use squatty potties in certain parts of of Asia. So
You can put those toilets though. That's the nice reason to go there.
Yeah, you put. Well, I don't want to get into the plumbing situation in the, over there. It gets a little bit in the weeds. So we're not gonna we're gonna make it. Ew. Yeah.
Just don't have a bathroom.
Well, it all kind of
gotta have a bathroom. Come on, jeez.
Everything, you know. You hold on to a pole. It's a hole there in the floor.
Trash cans.
It's fun.
Yeah.
They make a sound. Have you ever been over there in Asia? They make a sound to make the babies pee. They hold them over the trash can.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, my brother spent 2 years teaching English at a university in Nanning, China. And in China, not obviously this you were talking about Japan, but in China, where the imperial palace is, where there's this big public area where people walk around and do all this kind of stuff. It's not uncommon to see a mother holding her baby over a trash can, watching, and the baby's peeing in the trash can, and they'll make a sound. It's a high pitch kind of not a whistle, but like a sound that they'll make and it's like to make them know that I guess it's letting them know that it's this is what I need you to do now, kind of deal.
Let's hear it.
Very interesting. No, I can't do it.
Oh.
I could not hit that that octave unless you were pinching the bottom of my nutsack in a good way.
Good job, JJ.
Yeah, great stuff. I love it. I love it when your shower thoughts potentially could make us some money down the road. Especially, it's also going to be funny for us to sit around, one day when we're sitting around at the bar talking about how we're going to make this into an actual thing and then never actually do it. That's typically how that. Never actually do it. That's typically how that goes.
My favorite.
But one of the things that I'm looking forward to, changing subjects a little bit, is now that the NFL is over with, we've been looking at what's coming up, what's next. There's a whole bunch of things that are getting ready to get fired up that I'm excited about. You've got everything from college baseball, college basketball's conference tournaments are getting close to being here. March Madness is going. You've got other college sports that are spring sports that are getting going. Spring training is underway in Phoenix. So we're going to get a spring training report from JJ next week from Goodyear at the spring training facility. We're really looking forward to that. You've got the PGA Tour is rolling. You're starting to get into the fun tournaments. Waste Management was an absolute shit show, on par for the course as usual this last weekend in Phoenix.
Nice
and
fun.
You've got the Genesis coming up next week. Tiger's going to play. So it'll be fun to see him back out there. It's always interesting after that last accident, which actually was after this golf tournament is when he actually hurt his leg the last time. So it'll be good to see him back out there. And then, on and on into the summer, there's a lot of things that are coming up that we're really excited about. We talked about it earlier before the show. There's some organizations around Nashville that are doing some really cool stuff with the girls athletics and flag football and girls initiatives doing sports that they love to play. And it's there was a special on it at the Super Bowl, and that's a big wave. It's a lot of new stuff going on, and a lot of girls are getting an opportunity to do stuff that they weren't before, and it's awesome to see. We sure do love it, and we support all of those types of things. Hopefully we'll be able to collaborate with somebody, some of those organizations around here, around Nashville soon, and we'll keep you guys abreast of that. But JJ, I want to pass it over to you. IU is now ranked in the top 20. They're 15 in the rankings in men's basketball. How excited does that make you? Or does that get you wrapped? Does that get you jacked up more for? I know you're a college basketball guy anyway, but with the Hoosiers being relevant, how's that make it more exciting for you going into March?
This is I can't explain how happy it makes me when Indiana basketball is good, because they're so bad for so long. That's like glimmer hope, nosedive, glimmer hope, nosedive. I mean, we haven't won a championship since '87 when we won our fifth. So, I haven't seen one in my lifetime. I think we're in an upper echelon of teams that have a really good chance, and there's contenders. I think we're in that second tier, right there with Tennessee, although they're dropping
the back-to-back buzzer beater loss is rough, but it goes back to what we were talking about with Super Bowl. It's you get beat on the last play, and you got, like you said, you got recency bias. That's the last play. You do this, you don't do that. Why didn't you do that? A lot of plays led up to the fact that they were down up 17 at one point. Like they didn't play well enough to win in Vanderbilt, and they didn't play well enough to win against whoever the heck they lost to the other night.
Missouri. They were down by 17 and 12 consistently. It was like they don't deserve to win that, but that's how I feel too.
The issue with Tennessee for me is that if you look at game to game, they're shooting between 26 on the high end, maybe 34%. And I think they're going to run into a team in the tournament that could just score the shit out of the ball. Their defense is absolutely incredible, and that's what keeps it there. I'm just worried about their ability to score.
Where's it going to come from?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the
man.
problem
So
that
low.
I've had with it is they've got guys that can fill it up. They've got guys that do well on the boards. But if Vescovy or I call them Bone Thugs, Zakai Ziegler isn't hitting it, they're not hitting from the outside. I don't think they have an offensive identity, and I think you're right. They can put the heat on a lot of people, and defense can win some games, and they're going to get on some people in a tournament because of that defense. But if they don't figure it out in real short order where that offense is going to come from and find an inside presence that they can go to, so they need all these teams that are consistently good year in, year out. They have somebody to throw it down in there too.
Yeah, and they have not figured that out.
And they haven't figured that out.
Yeah,
And they've got guys I think that can do it, but it's just a matter of somebody rising to the occasion. And Coach Barnes can do it if anybody can. But there's been a lot of at the top. Purdue's been one, Arizona's been one,
Purdue did.
Alabama's one now. It's been all over the place, which makes me excited about March more so than
because there's not one dominant.
There's not
super
one
dominant
right.
team.
But my question to Alex would be, where's the West Coast basketball? What's going on out in the West Coast? Because the Zags are down. Arizona is kind of
really good.
They are really good, but they don't.
Lost to Stanford.
They don't have that with Mathering gone. They don't have that go-to guy.
Yeah.
At the end, they don't have a closer. They don't have that offensive identity. It's kind of like if Kerr's not hitting and Mbalo's not, whatever his name is, not
Balo,
Balo's not dominating on the inside,
fouling out in the first half.
Kind of, right. So it's just everybody's got flaws, which is normal for any team. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's want that. But UCLA, what do they rank? They're in the top five now, 4 or 5. USC, what's going on with USC? I know that you love them. You've got season tickets. You've been going. What's going on with that ball club? Because it's weird. It's weird that it's UCLA. UCLA. It's not weird for them to be there, but the other team being Oregon is the kind of odd to me.
Yeah, Carrie Underwood. I noticed your outfit change over there with your hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, representing now.
Yeah.
Wait for your Pac-12 analysis because I may jump down your throat.
That's fine.
Do it.
We're not having the greatest of years. USC, they're just not consistent. Granted, we're missing our starting center and our 6th man off the bench, Reese Dixon Waters. And we went up to the Oregon schools over the weekend, and we got beat by Oregon on Thursday, and it wasn't close. And then we played Oregon State, who's literally bottom of the league. And we just had a horrible offensive showing. Our defense was decent, but and I think that loss probably kicks us out of the tournament at the moment. I think Joe Lenardi had us we were the last 4 teams with a bye, and he hasn't released his new stuff, sponsor us. But I wouldn't be surprised if we were one of the first 4 out. So we got home this week against Cal and Stanford. If we don't win both of these games, our only hope of making the tournament would be to win the Pac-12 tournament. But we'll be seeded. We'll have to win our 2nd game, which will be against a really good team. But I think Arizona is good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are young. UCLA is good. I really like their coach. UCLA has Final Four potential. It drives me a little bit nuts because, playing USC is a rivalry game, obviously, every time we play each other. And we beat them last time we played them. And the time before, we basically lost. We had a chance to take the winning shot, and we missed. So, we could have been 2-0 against a top 5 team. So I really think Arizona has the most potential to go farthest in the tournament. But every time a Pac-12 team goes into the tournament, like an Oregon just randomly getting in, like last year, the Pac-12 dominated, got in very far past exceeding everyone's expectations. So Arizona is always a late bloomer. So is Oregon. They had a lot of injuries this year, and now all those guys are back. So But
so watch
I
out for the
imagine we'll
Pac-12
get
if they
3
get
or
in the
4.
tournament. Is that the consensus?
That's about it. I'm excited about. I think Miami is good. I think they are. I think they've got a chance to go pretty far in this tournament. But I like that there's, like you said, Mars, there's so much parity this year. There's not one team that is just dominating or undefeated. I think the Zags obviously are going to get in, and I think they could make some trouble. We'll see.
Experience will matter when you get to the tournament. It's
yeah.
I guess my curiosity will continue to percolate as we get closer to tournament time. But like you said, with the parity and the inconsistency at the top, it'll be interesting to find, this year to see who the 4, how the seeding plays out. I've got
Kentucky.
No, Kentucky might not get in. But
Oh.
college basketball is one of those things that it's starting to get really good right about this time of year. If you haven't been paying attention all year, start paying attention now. Start doing your little research. Start watching games with some people, because there's teams that haven't been mentioned yet, like Houston, who is number 2 in the country, and they're low key dogs, and they're getting and they played well, even though you can talk about
Loyola Marymount out here getting crazy, beat Gonzaga, and then beat somebody else the other day really good too. And and I just looked over and Texas Tech, who is 14-12, just beat the number 6 Texans 20-6, who are 20-6. I'm sorry. Texas Tech beat Texas. Jeez.
Yeah, that was on right before we got going here. College baseball is starting this weekend. So you've got a lot of, it's kind of one of those things, JJ and I are talking about it, where you've got teams that are in colder states. You've got your northern teams that have been practicing inside for most of the winter time and most of the last month or so, and they're traveling south. They're traveling to where it's warmer to play outside for the first time. So there's a lot of weird and interesting teams that are playing each other the first week of the season. But the top 10 looks a lot of the typical school suspects. LSU preseason number 1, Tennessee's 2, Ole Miss, A&M, Florida, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt also all in the top 10, along with Wake Forest and Oklahoma State. This weekend, Vandy, it goes to TCU to start their season. So TCU's ranked 15th to start the year. UT is traveling to Arizona. JJ, what is that deal? Is it like a
they do like an MLB, I don't know if it's called MLB preview, MLB classic. They always go to Salt River Fields over in the Scottsdale area. They'll pick 4 teams. It's Arizona, Tennessee, I think it's ASU, and fact check me. I'm gonna go with like UCSB. It's a California school. It's always a lot of good teams. It's good early matchups. It's exciting. College baseball, when it's a lot of good matchups early. It's a good way to test himself. Like I said, Vanderbilt goes to TCU. Some other matchups out there. It's a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing we got a lot of preseason All-American hopefuls and stuff like that. We've got a stud staff coming back. The Vols that look like they're going to be a problem all year. I hope that with some of the folks that were a part of the team last year that aren't a part of the team this year, and some of their attitude, some of the, we'll call it energy that they brought to the team was not with the team anymore. Maybe they'll that humble pie that they got last year, maybe that they can still taste that in the back of their mouth a little bit, and they come out with a different attitude this year, and they can get it done and maybe do something.
Why
special.
isn't USC any good? We've had the most national championships in baseball, but literally haven't been relevant in the 2000s.
I think it's just because the whole fucking state is just a fucking train wreck all from top to bottom. So everything involved with the whole fucking thing is everything
like
sucks.
Cal State,
USC football
Fullerton
sucks.
Is
Fullerton sucks.
UCSB is good.
Right. You haven't heard
UCLA good every once in a while.
You haven't heard about the anteaters in a while either. So like
Long Beach.
So I don't know what's going on out there, but y'all can keep it. I'll tell you that. But Arkansas goes to Texas. IU plays Auburn. That's one of those interesting matchups. That
tough one.
IU's been had a good team as of late. But one of the things the baseball conferencing, right? It's a little bit differently. It's a little bit different than the football and the basketball, right? Like the Power Five dominates, right? But baseball is a little bit of a different animal than that. There's teams in some of these. You talked about the Fullertons. You talk about some of these
Dallas
teams
Baptist,
that
Sam Houston State. There's like those random South schools that just fucking shit.
Rice.
Rice. You have these powerhouses, Tulane. You have these powerhouses that are not in the Power Five that and that can make a splash and that can do some stuff. You get a couple of special players, you get a couple of good arms that can come in. So baseball's getting fired up. That's obviously JJ and I's heart. We both played in college. JJ still works in baseball now. So really excited for college baseball to get going. I'll do a quick check-in on the alma mater, MTSU, and see how they're looking this year, but it's probably trash. So I probably won't go see them much at all this year, but at any rate, they did my old coach dirty. So the new coach can get fucked. But maybe he's a nice guy. Sponsor us.
Nailed it.
Shout out Mags.
Yeah. Shout out Mags, my guy. And rest in peace, Coach Pete, one of the best coaches to ever walk around in here and do it. He was a great man. The rattlesnake was a great American. He is missed. But Joe, my question to you is, how much do you actually know about golf? Are you a golf fan at all?
I would say really not a fan of trying to keep up with all the golfers. I do enjoy getting out and playing some golf, but because I suck at it so bad, it makes it hard for me to enjoy watching other people not suck at it, because it's like football, basketball, baseball, all like most sports that I play, man. Like I've been able to figure it out. Like, yeah, okay, cool, do this thing and then this thing. I swear, man, I've been playing golf.
Crush it.
Like I remember getting the VR, the Oculus VR, just to be excited. Like, okay, in that spot, I'm sure I can get the ball off the ground. No, man, I still fucking hit that thing a foot off the ground in the video game. So
in the video game,
when you see these people and they're like, you know what I'm gonna do? I can't see that hole, but I'm gonna drop this ball a foot from that motherfucker. And then they just, and you're like, you know what? So, but I'll tell you, man, there's certain, I think the Ryder Cup, I get really excited about, as a different, like I've always enjoyed that. The Masters is a tough not to get excited about.
It's a cool place. It's a special place.
I just think that there's some good storylines, in golf that come up. I think that the divisiveness between the leagues now is interesting, and kind of seeing where that's going to go. Just seeing people pointing fingers and being very like judgmental over the last year has been kind of like a cool new drama. So I would say that the older I get, the more relevant golf is going to have to become probably in my life.
Yeah. I got a show for you that starts on Wednesday. It's called Full Swing.
Yeah.
On Netflix. It starts this Wednesday, February 15th on Netflix. And they followed around a bunch of professional golfers during the tournaments, and it's like behind the scenes, and it's, you know how UFC
docuseries,
it's a docuseries, but you know how UFC became very popular from the reality show that they had, like Toughest Fighter or whatever.
Next Fighter or whatever.
Yeah. And that's how people started getting into it. Netflix is trying to do the same thing. They did the same thing with F1 racing on Netflix and got all of these people excited about it. And that's the same people that are putting this one together. So this Wednesday, February 15th, you can watch Full Swing on Netflix, and you'll probably dig it because it's going to be good. Sponsor us.
Sounds cool.
I love it. Did you watch at all the debauchery that was the Waste Management Phoenix Open this last weekend?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't watch any of it.
Did you see the mullet man?
Leader, come on, man.
You would have liked that one.
You know how hungover I was on Saturday, man? And then
A
Sunday
little bit.
continued.
Tweeter,
Perfect for golf.
I'm going to give you some positive vibes in terms of Mars posted a video of me trying to hit a golf ball over this big ass tree when I was like 14 beers deep. And one of the Twitter trolls called me a paraplegic. So we can go golf and you can feel better about yourself.
All right, cool.
The exact comment was, no way he's not paraplegic after that with that swing.
and I couldn't help but laugh because it was a tough.
It was hilarious. He almost fell down.
That was good.
I just remember the conversation in that moment too, because he looked at me. He's like, I mean, wrecked. I mean, he is staring through me.
Stumbling.
He's looking at me. He's like, yeah, he drinks a beer whole and then does. I said it before.
Speaking in cursive.
He's speaking in cursive. Yeah, he was hearing colors. That's right. He looked at me and he's like, he's like, over it? And I'm like, well, you can't go around. You know, what do you act like
Life's
you
too
have a
short
choice.
to go under.
There you go.
You gotta look at
So,
this video. It's
yeah,
like a 50-foot tree, and I'm like 5 feet away from like I don't know how in what world I was like,
No, it
yep,
was
I'm
great.
doing this, and I just fell on my ass. I didn't even hit the ball. I don't think. But the Waste Management tweeter, essentially the 16th holes where it is, and shout out to ESPN Plus sponsors, please, because they had that you could watch a broadcast. It's literally just the 16th hole, and as they hit this par 3 to get close, everybody goes nuts. They throw all these cans.
You
out.
heckle them and shit, right?
They went away from beer bottles or beer cans this year. They tried to just do
Into
plastic
cups,
only
yeah.
because so many people were throwing. And then when they shank it, everybody just boos them the whole way, and it's
So
hilarious to see these people hammered in
great
crazy
idea.
outfits, just screaming at the golfers. The whole some guys pep it up and get into it. Other guys you see like crumble under the pressure.
Yeah. This one guy jumps out there and his name, he had whatever he was going by written on his bare chest. He's in a Speedo. He's got a glorious mane, mullet, Joe Dirte. Oh, I mean, flowing down halfway down his back. He's got a big arrow on his back. I can't remember what his back said. I think it said hole. At any rate, he makes it on the course and he runs down the fairway. He jumps, he gets up on the green. He does a little pole dance, does a little pole dance on the flag. And then the police chase him. He belly flops into the pond. He swims out to the Waste Management logo out in the middle and gets up and he's like this, And then the last video was him out there standing on the W and you pan over and you just see all the cops standing on the shore, just like, come on. And so he has to jump back in and he swims back across the pond to the police to get arrested. And I posted his mugshot today for everybody to hopefully cheer him up if they were down from the Super Bowl.
T-shirts
So go
coming
check that
soon.
out. Yeah. So Instagram and TikTok at Nashville Stash. You can see all that type of ridiculousness that we post there. We have a good time for sure with all the other things going on in sports and making jokes and memes about it. We have a good time. But
That's a good t-shirt idea.
it is, isn't it? I love it. His mugshot is going to be on a t-shirt by the end of the week and by somebody. It won't be us, but somebody will have one out there for sure. But one of the cool things is you talk about the 16th hole and the hole in one aspect of it. Did they have one this year, Alex? I know that Ricky got a hole in one, but it wasn't at 16. But speaking of Ricky, Justin Thomas and Spieth, they actually live close by. They got a house at this golf club down the road, which is weird because I hear that they're there a lot, but I've never seen them around, never seen them in town. Maybe they're just
It's because they're playing
ghosts.
golf. They don't play golf when they're not playing golf.
No, they do.
They do.
They do.
Well, then there you go.
Like they'll be going to the Bahamas. We talked about the was it you that no, it was somebody who was talking about where they play in the Bahamas being an amazing place to see him out there barefoot. But it was good to see Ricky playing back to form. I've always liked Ricky. He kind of over the last couple of years has kind of been in a bad headspace. He hadn't been playing very good. A lot of tweaking of the swing, a lot of bad stuff, but he's always been a good dude. I've always liked him, the way he carries himself. He's always been a funny guy. And so it was good to see him playing better golf as of late. Hopefully he can get going because him and JT and Spieth and Scheffler and Rahm and all these guys get going along with the European guys and Rahm's European, but along with them, the other European guys. One of the things that's kind of curious to me, and you mentioned the LIV PGA drama, is the world golf rankings includes everybody. So you've got 4 out of the top 5 are PGA players. Number 4 on the list is the Australian guy, Cam Smith, but he's LIV. At what point will the tournaments that he's playing, is he just playing a bunch of stuff in the World Tour and the DP World Tour and the Dubai and International? Because they're only like 13 live events.
Right. How do they compare them?
Like, how can you maintain a ranking if you're not playing in enough events? You know what I mean? It just seems weird how they're going to be able to, it just seems convoluted. And I'm not
Just
sure.
call the college football ranking experts and they'll figure it out.
Yeah. They'll let the college football playoff guys do it. That won't screw it up at all.
Not at all. Yeah, that's a good point though. I don't know how you would compare those. You don't have honestly even enough measurables there. I mean, how are you supposed to stack that up? And
yeah,
I don't get that.
And there's all sorts of lawsuits and things that are counted and not counted. Because I mean, we can get into the business at some point in time if you're interested of the LIV.
I think I would love to get into the business of it and talk about it, because I think the way I feel about it is, you know, maybe a little bit different than the way other folks feel about it. But I think that you got to kind of make a choice. You know, it's like, if you know, it's but at the same time, I don't really understand the difference. And there's a lot of leagues out there, and you know, the way that they handle soccer and the different leagues in Europe, you know, the different leagues going back and forth of trade players and borrow players, and they do all kinds of weird stuff. And it's almost like they're treated like independent contractors. They're able to do what they want to do, but if they sign a contract with the team, they got to own up to it. And it's up to the team to be able to let them in and out of the terms of that contract if something comes up that they want to go do. And if the team says no, then they don't go. And in this situation, PGA was the team, but it wasn't structured that way. The players had a lot of control, and that was the way that they wanted it. When people started going and doing what they wanted to do, everybody kind of started reneging on a bunch of things that they thought were the case, but they weren't. And when you looked at the contract that you signed, it says this, and this is what you owe us for this, and this is what we'll give you for it. And that's the way that it was spelled out. And if you wanted to make a change, and those were you're willing to risk what came with making that choice to go. And the guys that went. And a lot of them were very honest. I went because the paycheck. I want to play less golf and make more money. I don't want to have to pay. I don't have to play this many events. The grind of it. DJ was very open about it. Koepka was open about it. A lot of the guys were. I don't want to grind it out at the John Deere Classic because I got to maintain eligibility for this other tournament that I want to play in. I'd rather play 25 tournaments a year and hang out at the pool the other time. That was a lot of those guys' responses. And if that's what you want to do, then you should be able to do that. But you shouldn't be able to flip flop back and forth without anything. And you know, without any.
Kind of amazing that becoming a professional athlete, in the greatest, league in the world of the sport, somehow becomes not good enough for them. And I'm not like judging necessarily, but I mean, it's interesting. Like, imagine if the NBA was like, you know what, I don't want to play 82 games. So started up this other league, or we're going to get paid.
Basically what happened.
It'd be
can't
like, blame them, I guess.
Like if Ice Cube took his.
Phil Mickelson's contract was $200 million to go play in that tournament.
Him?
Who's going to say no to that?
Right.
Can't.
But I'll tell you this:
if you're not somebody for that,
to come back full circle to what the original question about you being a fan of golf. If you are not a fan of golf or not a fan of watching golf, I'll tell you this: the ultimate trump card with that statement is Tiger Woods.
Mm-hmm.
When Tiger Woods is on TV,
love it.
It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what country you're from. It doesn't matter what you got going on. People watch Tiger Woods. He's fun to watch. And even when he's on one leg and he's hobbling around, it's even more dramatic because you're like, okay, what? And then he hits these shots. You're like, how the hell is he doing that?
I thought he couldn't stand up straight. I thought he wasn't going to walk ever again.
And then you watch the split screen. Like I've got a split screen. I'm going to post. I've been waiting until this weekend. I've been waiting for Tiger to come back to play to post this, but it's a split screen diagonally. And it's got Charlie on one side and it's got Tiger on the other side.
I saw that.
And the swing is freaking identical, dude. Yeah. And it's cool to see. It's like Tiger 2.0, and Tiger's on the way out, but I think the last one of the memes I saw said, well, at least we got Charlie. He's coming back and he looks like he's going to be cool to watch. But Tiger's going to be around this weekend. He's going to be hobbling around. We'll see how he looks, but I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I'll
be there this weekend watching the Genesis, which used to be called, I think, the Nissan tournament. I worked there for 3 years, mid 2000s. I've got some Tiger Woods stories we can talk about next episode.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that'll be fun. So you're gonna go out there and check it out. Make sure you take some cool pictures. Get some shout outs for us out there while you're on the course with your old PGA buddies while you're out there stomping around. But enjoy that.
Try to get a player interview or two for you.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get terrible weather. There probably won't be.
Yeah, you call that segment "Sports Other People's Business."
Yeah, other people's business. I love it. Well, I'm definitely gonna be tuning in to watch. You guys check out Tiger. We'll definitely look forward to that. What else is coming up that you guys are stoked about? I mean, we got spring training. Like I said, we'll do a spring training report next week with JJ. What about you, Alex? Anything coming up over the next couple of weeks?
We're past the All-Star game of hockey, so we can start talking about hockey again. And then, we'll get into that. And then as much as you don't like to talk about the NFL, they do take over the media.
They do.
Free agency starts literally almost a month from now. So
Right.
March,
I'll tell you what
March
starts
15th.
I'll tell you
4
what starts
p.m.
sooner.
free
I'll tell you
agency.
what starts sooner. XFL starts this weekend.
Oh,
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the people's champ, as the commissioner. His Capital Group took over. I know it's been talking about it for a long time. His ex-wife, Danny Garcia, is the CEO of the league. They have 8 teams back. They're going to play a 10-game schedule starting on Saturday, play through about May. And a lot of big names are back. I didn't realize how many coaches, like who are coaching some of these teams. You got Bob Stoops, who's coaching the looks like the Arlington Renegades. You've got Hines Ward coaching the San Antonio Brahmas. You've got Terrell Buckley coaching the Orlando Guardians. Hey, we got another Guardian team. Fun fact: Wade Phillips is coaching in Houston.
Yep.
Rod Woodson coaches in Vegas. I mean, we've got and then you got the DC Defenders, the Seattle Sea Dragons, the St. Louis Battlehawks to round out the other 8 teams of that league.
Wait, are you big DC Defender guys?
DC
Man,
Defender.
I'm pulling out of every DC sport I can every chance I get. At some point I'm going to be basically like, where you don't like any sports, and I'm just going to, completely absent.
You're going to be a sports hermit.
I really like though that they do these leagues, man. I think that they're interesting for the simple fact of like the idea that maybe 1 or 2 of those people that are in that league are going to get their shot. And I think that if that league creates 1 or 2 people getting their shot, it's good for the sport, and I think it's just good because like NBA is doing a good job with the G League. I think the G League's got some tremendous talent, and people are able to go into these different basketball leagues, the Euro leagues, playing in Asia. I mean, like there's all these other options now for basketball, but in football, you just don't really have a lot of these options that anyone knows about. I remember being a little kid collecting, sports cards, and every once in a while you get a Canadian football league and you'd be like, I'll just I'll put that in my bicycle spokes or whatever later, it's not even a real sport.
Well, the USFL started last year and had their first season. They played, which here's an interesting thing about it. And they're starting again. They're having season 2. It'll start in April though. Yeah. April 15th. Yeah, is when the USFL started. Is going to start this year. And they've got the 8 teams. What's interesting about the USFL, and they're both, if you look them up, they're both considered minor league football leagues. But the USFL, the entire year, their regular season, and in Birmingham last year.
Mm-hmm.
There's teams from all over. You've got Birmingham, Houston, Memphis, Michigan, Philly, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, and New Jersey. But they all played all their games in Birmingham, and then they played the entire postseason in Canton at the Hall of Fame Stadium, which is interesting. Now, I'll have to do a little bit more digging on that to figure out.
I think they're doing 4 cities this year.
Right. Now that, I think there's 4 cities. I know Detroit is playing somewhere. I think they're playing at Ford Field. I think that I read that today. I'll have to double check, but yeah, they're spread it out now this year. But what's interesting is that it's co-owned by Fox Sports. And
how do you make money, you guys? If you want to have a successful sports league, what's the number one thing you need? TV. So USFL is on Fox as well as NBC Peacock, and then the XFL is on ABC,
ESPN family.
Yeah. So they both paid for the media rights. In fact, the LIV golf tournament you can now watch on the CW, I think, the WB, whatever that channel is.
Yeah, the old WB.
Isn't that like high school? Like
Dawson's Creek and shit, right?
There it is.
But what's interesting about the USFL is that there's the previous USFL from long ago, and the new entity owns all those copyrights, but they don't have any official affiliation with them. So, but anyway, so they'll start in April. XFL and the Rocks League starts this Saturday, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. With football, like we said, with football being on, I think people are going to tune in. But with it being on, it's got to be on TV. So with it being on TV more this year, and with people like the Rock being behind it, we'll see what if it gets legs. What's up, Jay?
One of the cool things the XFL did was they did an HBCU combine, and the Rock sponsored it. And I think they're giving a lot of kids that maybe have been overlooked or not in the Power 5 a chance. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I like about the XFL and especially USFL is I like an addict. I've had football overload since August. And so I'm so thankful for the fact that I can turn on football on the weekends and
have something to watch. Right.
So thank God for these 2 leagues. Hopefully some of those guys play and they go to the NFL. I don't really care.
Right.
I get a bet on football and
Don't bet against the Rock, And when it comes to entertainment, I just wouldn't bet against the Rock, period, and not being able to figure out something cool with that league.
It'll be fun to watch. I'm interested to see all the things because he's been building it up, and that he's going to do it right. He's a showman. He's always been back in. He's always been.
Didn't
that
Vince
way,
McMahon tied that league too?
Yeah, originally Vince McMahon started the league, and then the Capital Group that the Rock is involved with purchased the league with Vince McMahon last year, and they started doing all the things, hired all their people, got all the coaches, got the GMs, started doing some diversity in the management, started doing some stuff the real way, started to mimic the NFL organization so that it can be ran that way, so the players start to get a feel for what it's like. So if they are going to be the preferred minor league of the NFL, that's an easier stepping stone. A lot of cool stuff. We'll see how it plays out. But it's been an amazing NFL season. It's been a lot of surprises, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. The Titans, one to forget. Other teams, one to remember, a lot to build on. But the NFL is now around until the offseason. Shenanigans get underway. Keep everybody interested.
I've been on some other shit, just lost my fucking brother shit. Now I think it's time to be myself back to the mothership. J-Rock is my co-pilot, that's the one that I hover with. Love the way we stubborn, like we rule our own government. We come through so thunderous, like everybody else is under us. I might go like a shepherd when the going gets heavy, but I ain't really on the up and up. And so I step up to the plate day in, day out, swinging my uppercut. When I cut a rug and I'm dancing. I'm grinding up some buttercup.
Just good, be
For
well.
the minute I get in my zone, anywhere in my home, don't interrupt. My home is the whole world. On a UFO dying to live it up. Sip it up, drink it up, chug it up, throw it up, sleep it up, pick it up, shake it up, bake it up, choke it up, smoke it up, know it all, baby. So go with the flow when you know that I made it up. In a minute, safe haven, with Mary Jane's to come in the crave. Is 30 years old, performing on stage and it's fucking amazing. I'm stuck in a phase of phrases, covered the basics, already blazed and pumped to face the facts that I am up to take these raps about the basics. People come, people go.